Welcome to my channel, where I share stories about women. Follow me to listen to today's exciting stories. The smell of his cologne was wrong. That was the first thing I noticed when Noah stumbled in at 2:17 a.m. Not the time. I'd stopped checking the clock hours ago. Not the mumbled excuse about closing the deal with the Singapore investors. The video call running late. It was the scent clinging to his $2.000 Tom Ford suit jacket as he draped it over the back of the armchair. It was floral, expensive, and distinctly, undeniably feminine. "Long night, baby," he murmured, leaning down to kiss my forehead. His breath smelled of mint, covering the ghost of whiskey. "Didn't want to wake you." I lay perfectly still on my side of our California king, the side closest to the bathroom for my 7 months pregnant bladder, and watched his silhouette in the dark. He moved with the careful, deliberate quiet of guilt. Not the guilt of a man who'd worked late, the guilt of a man who'd just showered in a hotel room, scrubbing away the evidence. I hummed, playing the part of the half-asleep, trusting wife. Everything go okay. Tough negotiation. He sighed, a performer savoring his monologue. He sat on the edge of the bed, his back to me, and began untying his Italian leather shoes. "They're pushing for a bigger equity stake. We're talking 9 figures. The stress is unreal, but it's for us, Evie, for the little one." His hand came to rest on the mountain of my stomach, over the cotton of my nightgown. "Our baby," as if sensing the lie, gave a sharp, rolling kick. Noah chuckled, a dry, tired sound. "Feisty tonight, just like her father," I said, my voice thick with a sleepiness I didn't feel. He finished undressing and slid into bed, his body a furnace a foot away from mine. Within minutes, his breathing evened out into the shallow, satisfied rhythm of the recently sated, the rhythm of a man who'd had sex, not a man who'd closed a 9-figure deal. I waited 20 minutes, counting each of his exhales, before I slipped silently from the sheets. The hardwood floor was cool under my bare feet. My body was a cumbersome, aching vessel, but my mind was a scalpel, sharp and cold. I moved through the dark San Francisco penthouse we'd bought with the first major exit of his tech startup, Ether. The city lights glittered beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows, a tapestry of cold jewels. Our kingdom, our beautiful, hollow lie. I bypassed his home office. He was too smart to leave anything physical lying around. Instead, I went to the kitchen, poured a glass of water I didn't want, and picked up his tablet from the charging station. It was unlocked. He'd gotten sloppy, arrogant. He thought I was just Evelyn, pregnant, hormonal, soft Evelyn who balanced the books for his company as a favor and spent her days picking out crib sheets. My password was the date of our wedding. His, I knew from watching him 1,000 times, was the launch date of Ether's first app. I typed it in. The screen bloomed to life. I started with his email. Nothing in his main account. I checked his browser history, wiped clean. I moved to his finance apps. Our joint account, the one for household expenses, showed the usual withdrawals. But there was another banking app one didn't recognize, one with a sleek, minimalist icon. My finger hovered over it. This was the line. Once I crossed it, there was no going back to blissful ignorance. The baby kicked again, a firm nudge just beneath my ribs, a reminder, a demand. I tapped the icon. It asked for a password or biometrics. I picked up the tablet, angled Noah's sleeping face toward the front-facing camera. The screen flashed green. Unlocked. The account was with a private bank in Zurich. The balance took my breath away. $2.847.309.18. $2.8 million. Hidden. My hands didn't shake. They never do when I'm looking at numbers. Numbers are my language. Before I was Noah's wife, before I was a mother-to-be, I was Evelyn Reed, one of the youngest VPs at Goldman Sachs. I know money. I know how it moves, how it hides, how it lies. I scrolled through the transactions. Large, regular transfers from Ether's business accounts, disguised as consulting fees and vendor payments, and outward flows. 15.000 Toa San Francisco. Luxadorments. 6 weeks ago, 0.800 a month for an apartment on Russian Hill. $3.400 to a boutique OB/GYN practice. The Golden Gate Women's Clinic. That one, dated 2 days ago, had a memo. Isabella S. 12-week scan package. Isabella. The name was a bullet to the chest. Clean. Precise. Fatal. I knew that name. Isabella Shaw. His new social media manager. Hired 3 months ago. 24 years old. A recent Stanford grad with a perfect Instagram feed and an unnerving habit of touching Noah's arm when she laughed. I set the tablet down, exactly as I'd found it. I walked to the guest bathroom, turned on the fan, and vomited up the water and the shattered remains of my marriage. 20 minutes later, I was in my personal study, the door locked, my personal laptop open. Noah thought this room was for my little hobbies, planning the nursery, writing in a journal. He had no idea. Social media was next. I knew all of Noah's accounts, his polished LinkedIn, his inspirational Twitter, his carefully curated founder journey Instagram. But men like Noah, men with secrets, always have a shadow account, a Finsta. I pulled up Instagram on the browser, clicked forgot password on his known email, and had a reset link sent. I couldn't access his email, but I could see the first 2 letters of the alternative recovery email he'd set up. Is ****** at mail.com. Isabella. It was too easy. His vanity was his undoing. He'd have a password scheme. I tried etherlongdate_Isabella. Denied. I tried our wedding date with her name. Denied. I tried a variation I'd seen him use for low security things. San Fran, 2023. The screen refreshed. I was in. The account name was at __. No profile picture. 3 followers. 27 posts. All private. My heart was a drum against my ribs. I clicked the first post. It was a selfie of Noah and Isabella, cheek to cheek, grinning on a sailboat against a backdrop of turquoise water. The caption, escaping the fog with my sunshine. #blessed. The date stamp, 7 weeks ago, when Noah was supposedly at a leadership retreat in Lake Tahoe. I clicked through them, a numbing parade of my husband's secret life. Dinners at Saison, hikes in Muir Woods, a weekend in Napa, a snapshot of 2 wine glasses and intertwined hands. My husband's familiar, strong fingers, with his simple platinum wedding band, and a slender, feminine hand with a delicate, diamond-encrusted band on herring finger. My lungs seized. My own left hand, resting on the trackpad, was bare. I'd taken my rings off 6 weeks ago when the swelling started. I kept them in a velvet pouch in my jewelry box. I'd checked the pouch last week, just to feel the weight of them. The engagement ring, a 3-carat emerald cut, had been there. The matching platinum band had not. I'd asked Noah, "Have you seen my wedding band?" He'd been shaving. "The bathroom's steamy. Isn't it in the box?" "No, just the engagement ring." He'd shrugged, meeting my eyes in the mirror with perfect, practiced nonchalance. "You probably misplaced it, Evie. Pregnancy brain. It'll turn up. I'll buy you a new one, a bigger one." I'd let it go, because that's what I did. I was easygoing, Evelyn. I didn't make waves. The final post was from last night. The photo was a close-up of their joined hands, resting on rumpled white sheets. Morning light streamed across them. His band, her new, diamond-studded band. The caption beneath it was a punch to the throat. My true love and my gift to her, finally living in truth. I stared at the photo, at my wedding band, the one he'd slipped onto my finger 5 years ago in front of everyone we loved. Now gleaming on the finger of a 24-year-old girl, He paid $8,000 a month to post hashtags. I stared at the words. My true love. My gift to her. A sound escaped me. A low, wounded animal noise I didn't recognize. I slammed the laptop shut. Darkness enveloped the room. Outside, San Francisco glittered. Indifferent, I sat there for a long time, my hands resting on the curve of my stomach. The baby was quiet now, as if holding its breath. Then, slowly, a smile spread across my face. It felt strange, unnatural, a crack in a frozen lake. But it was real. Noah's greatest fear wasn't business failure. He'd bounced back from that before. His greatest fear wasn't even losing me. It was losing control. It was being exposed, humiliated, outsmarted. It was a puzzle he couldn't solve, a deal he couldn't close, a narrative he couldn't spin. He'd just given me the key to all of it. I picked up my phone. It was 4 a.m. I scrolled to a contact I hadn't dialed in months. Not since the bitter argument about my prenuptial agreement, the one she'd insisted on, and I'd foolishly seen as a lack of faith. My mother, Diana Reed, answered on the second ring. Her voice, even blurred by sleep, was like steel wrapped in velvet. Evelyn, is it the baby? No, Mother, it's not the baby. My voice was calm, detached, the voice I used for boardroom presentations. It's Noah. I need a divorce, and I need to bury him. There was a beat of silence. Then, the sound of sheets rustling, a lamp clicking on. Tell me everything. Don't leave out a single detail. I told her. The hidden account, the transactions, the Instagram, the ring, Isabella, the other baby. When I finished, the line was silent for a full 10 seconds. Then I heard the familiar, furious tap of her manicured nails on a hard surface. The idiot, the arrogant, philandering idiot. Okay, listen to me. You do not confront him. You do not change your behavior in any way. You are happy. You are in love. You are hormonal and pregnant and oblivious. Do you understand? Yes. I'm emailing you the name and number of the best private investigator on the West Coast. His name is Silas Rourke. He's discreet. He's ruthless. And he's expensive. You will hire him today. You will also forward me every piece of financial data you've just found. I'll have my forensic accountant start tracing the flows first thing in the morning. Do you still have access to the Ether books? Full admin access. I said. Noah had given it to me when I was doing the favor. He'd never revoked it. Good. Start pulling everything. Every wire. Every transfer. Every shell company. I want a map of his entire financial house of cards. The prenup has a moral turpitude clause. Adultery. Fraud. Dissipation of marital assets. It triggers a complete forfeiture on his part. We're going to use it like a sledgehammer. Isabella is pregnant. I said, the words ash in my mouth. All the better, my mother said, and I could hear the cold, strategic glee in her voice. Diana Reed, founding partner of Reed, Cartwright Lowe, had built her career eviscerating men like Noah in court. It establishes a pattern of reckless behavior. It influences custody. It influences a judge's sympathy. We need confirmation, a doctor's note, an ultrasound, something. Tell Rourke. He'll know how to get it. I will. Evelyn. Her voice softened. Just a fraction. Are you all right? The baby. The baby is fine. I am. Focused. Good. Grieve later. Destroy him now. I'll be on the first flight out. In the meantime, get the evidence. And smile at that bastard over breakfast. I hung up. The first gray light of dawn was bleeding into the sky over the bay. I opened my laptop again. I took screenshots of everything. The bank transactions, the Instagram posts, the captions. I saved them in multiple, encrypted locations. I emailed the financial data to my mother's secure server. Then I went to the kitchen. I made a pot of coffee, the expensive Ethiopian blend Noah loved. I toasted sourdough, slathered it with butter. I set the table on the terrace. overlooking the awakening city. I was placing the orange juice on the table when Noah shuffled out, yawning, in his monogrammed robe. He looked rumpled, handsome, utterly unaware that his life was about to be systematically dismantled. "Hey, you're up early," he said, coming over to kiss me. I turned my cheek at the last second, so his lips grazed my skin instead of my mouth. He didn't seem to notice. "Couldn't sleep," I said, pouring his coffee. The little one was doing acrobatics. "Thought I'd make you breakfast before your big day." He beamed, taking the cup. "You're the best. Evie, what would I do without you?" "You're about to find out," I thought. I smiled, wide and warm. "Eat your toast before it gets cold." As he Saturday, scrolling through his phone, probably texting Isabella, I studied him. The man I'd loved. The man I'd built a life with. The man who'd put his wedding ring on another woman's finger and called her his true love. My phone, face down on the table, buzzed with a new email. The subject line read, "Silas Rourke, confidential." I flipped it over, opened the email. It was brief. "Ms. Reed, your mother filled me in. I'm on the case. We'll make contact by 9 a.m. Send any details you have on the subject. Rourke." I typed a quick reply, attaching Isabella's name, the address of the Russian Hill apartment from the bank statement, and the OBGYN clinic details. "Everything okay?" Noah asked, looking up from his phone. "Perfect," I said, taking a sip of my decaf tea. I looked out at the view, at the city that was his kingdom. Everything is just perfect. And for the first time since I saw that photo, I realized I wasn't lying. It was perfect. He'd given me everything I needed to break him. The game was on. Silas Rourke called at 9:02 a.m. His voice was a low, gravelly baritone, devoid of unnecessary warmth. "Ms. Reed, I'm outside your building. Blacktown car. Can you come down? Or shall I come up?" "I'll come down." I told Noah I had a prenatal massage scheduled. He kissed my cheek, told me to relax, and headed to Ether's shiny Soma offices, no doubt to see his social media manager. Rourke was exactly as I'd pictured. Late 50s, built like a retired linebacker, with a close-shaved head and eyes the color of a winter sky. He held the car door open for me, his gaze scanning the street with a professional detachment. Once we were moving, he got straight to business. "I've done a prelim on Isabella Shaw, 24, Stanford, communications major, hired at Ether 3 months ago as social media strategist." Reported directly to Noah. Clean record. One prior relationship with a venture capitalist. Ended amicably 6 months ago. She's 12 weeks pregnant. Per the clinic records I accessed this morning. He said it so matter-of-factly. "Accessed this morning. No ethical hand-wringing. Just results." I appreciated it. The apartment on Russian Hill is leased to an LLC called Golden Gate Holdings. I'm tracing ownership, but it's likely a shell. The building is high security. I'll need to get a man inside to plant devices. That will take time and money. "Do it," I said. "I want to know everything. Every conversation. Every plan. Understood. Your mother also wants proof of the pregnancy. A sonogram. Medical records. I can obtain that, but it's riskier. If she reports a break-in, there's another way," I said slowly, an idea forming. Her Instagram, the public one. It's all yoga, green juice, influencer aspirational stuff. But she lists where she teaches. Hot power yoga on Fillmore. They have a prenatal class on Wednesday mornings. Rourke's eyes met mine in the rearview mirror. A flicker of respect. "You're thinking of making contact." "I'm thinking of signing up for a prenatal yoga class," I said, my voice bland. "It's good for the baby, isn't it?" A slow, grim smile touched his lips. "It certainly is. I'll get you her schedule, and I'll have a full dossier on her by end of day. In the meantime, act normal. The more normal you are, the more rope he'll give himself to hang with." He dropped me off a block from my building. I went to a nearby spa, not for a massage, but to sit in a quiet lounge and think, to plan. My phone buzzed. A text from my best friend. Chloe, coffee. I'm dying for gossip that isn't about my toddler's potty training. Chloe, my former colleague from Goldman, now a stay-at-home mom and a certified genius hacker who did penetration testing for fun. If anyone could get me into the deep, dark corners of Ether's servers, it was her. Meet me at the sentient being in 30. I texted back. And bring your laptop. I have a job for you. 29 minutes later, I was sliding into a booth opposite Chloe. She took one look at my face and her smile vanished. Oh, shit, what's he done? I didn't bother with preamble. I slid my phone across the table. The Instagram post of the joined hands and the caption displayed. Chloe's face went from shock to fury to a terrifying, focused calm. She looked up at me. Tell me what you need. I need access to everything. His emails, his project management tools, his internal chats, his code repositories. I need to know if he's funneling more than just cash. I need to know if Ether is a house of cards. She was already opening her laptop, a sleek, unmarked machine she called the Beast. Ether's security is decent, but Noah's an arrogant prick. I'd bet my left tit he uses the same password for his admin access as he does for his fantasy football league. Her fingers flew over the keys. And I happen to know that password is EtherChamps 2022 because he bragged about it at your 4th of July barbecue. A hysterical laugh bubbled in my throat. I swallowed it. Can you do it without getting caught? Please, she scoffed, not looking up. I'm a ghost. He'll never know I was there. What's the endgame? Evie, what are we looking for? I thought of my mother's words. Destroy him now, Ud. I thought of the hidden account. The money meant for our child spent on his mistress. I thought of my ring on her finger. I'm looking for a knife, I said softly, stirring my decaf latte, and I'm going to give him the handle. By the time I returned to the penthouse that afternoon, I had a dossier on Isabella Shaw from Rourke in my inbox, and Chloe was already inside Ether's systems, planting digital breadcrumbs for me to follow. I made dinner, salmon with lemon dill sauce, roasted asparagus, crushed new potatoes, Noah's favorite. He texted he'd be late, a last-minute product sync. I knew he was at the Russian Hill apartment. Rourke had texted me. Subject E entered subject S's residence at 6:15 p.m. No sign of exit yet. I ate alone at the vast marble island, the silence of the penthouse pressing in on me. After, I took a bath. I washed my hair. I moisturized my stretching skin. I performed the rituals of a normal life. When Noah finally came home at 10 p.m., he smelled of her perfume again. This time, he tried to cover it with cigar smoke. He came into the bedroom, already talking. Crazy day. The Singapore deal is hitting some last-minute snags. Might have to fly out there next week. I was sitting up in bed, reading a novel. I looked over the top of my Kindle. That's a long flight. You'll miss the childbirth class. He waved a dismissive hand as he undressed. It's just breathing. Evelyn, you can watch a YouTube video. This deal is the future of the company. It's for us. For us. The lie was so threadbare it was transparent. Of course, I said, my voice gentle. You do what you have to do. He looked at me, a strange expression on his face. He'd expected an argument. Tears, perhaps. Hormonal outrage. My placid acceptance threw him. You're sure? I mean, it's the last class. I'm sure, I said, putting the Kindle down. Come to bed. You look tired. He slid in beside me, his body a line of heat in the cool sheets. After a moment, his hand crept over to my stomach. How's my girl today? Active, I said. I took his hand, the one that had been holding Isabella's in the photo, and placed it where the baby was kicking. He felt the strong, rhythmic thumps, and a look of awe crossed his face. It was genuine. In that moment, he was just a man feeling his child move. The dissonance was so profound it stole. The dossier on Isabella Shaw arrived as I was finishing my third cup of decaf. Rourke's email was a model of brutal efficiency. No salutation, no fluff, just facts. I scrolled through the attached PDF. The sterile font detailing the destruction of my life. Subject: Isabella Marie Shaw. D.O.B. May 12, 1999. Single. No criminal record. No outstanding debt. Current employment. Social media strategist. Ether Technologies. Salary $85,000 annually. Additional compensation. Apartment. Vehicle allowance. Discretionary bonuses. Medical confirmation. 12 weeks pregnant. First prenatal appointment at Golden Gate Women's Clinic on April 10th. Ultrasound images obtained. Due date, October 28th. I clicked open the annex. The financials were a ledger of betrayal. Every vendor payment from Ether to a shell company that paid Isabella's rent. Every consulting fee that matched a deposit into her new checking account. The $48,500 student loan payment, the $15,000 charge at Lux Adornments, the diamond band, the $3,400 for the OBGYN's platinum package. Then, the ultrasound. It was a grainy, black and white image, a tiny, curved shape, a seahorse in a sea of static. The label in the corner read, Shaw, IGA, 12W0D. My hand went to my own stomach. My baby, at 28 weeks, was a constant, heavy presence, rolling and pushing. This other child, Noah's other child, was a secret, blurry ghost, a ghost that would soon be a person, a sibling to my daughter. The reality of it was a vast, sucking emptiness in my chest. I closed the file. Emotion was a luxury I couldn't afford. I forwarded everything to my mother with a single-line note. The prenup's moral turpitude clause just hit the jackpot. My phone buzzed. Chloe, I'm in. It's worse than you think. Call me. I went to the study, locked the door, and dialed. Hey. Chloe's voice was tight, crackling with furious energy. Okay, first, the money. It's not just the hidden Swiss account. He's got a whole shadow ledger inside Ether's own accounting software, a separate project called Project Icarus. Cute, right? Icarus flew too close to the sun. I murmured, and melted his wings. Exactly. Project Icarus is where he's booking all the fake expenses, the vendor fees that pay for her life. But that's just the petty cash drawer. The real problem is the Singapore deal. A cold thread of anticipation tightened in my stomach. Go on. The deal is real. Vortex Capital is offering one 20 million Series CATA, 900 million pre-money valuation. It's Noah's big exit-to-exit play, but the data he's showing them, EV, it's fabricated. The user growth metrics, the engagement stats, the projected ad revenue for the new AI module, it's all inflated by, 300%. It's a house of cards built on a bed of lies. If Vortex does even a medium-level due diligence, they'll walk, and the whole thing collapses, taking Ether with it. I leaned back in the chair, the pieces clicking into a devastating mosaic. Noah wasn't just a cheater. He was a fraud. He was risking everything, our money, the company, the futures of his 100 employees, to keep his secret life afloat and chase a unicorn valuation. He's desperate, I said slowly. The mistress, the baby, the lifestyle, it's burning cash. He needs the Singapore money to cover it all up and look like a hero. Bingo. And there's more. He's planning a capital call from the existing board next week. $2 million. He's claiming it's for a critical infrastructure scaling ahead of the Vortex close. But the transfer is earmarked for a Cayman's account. My guess, he's building a runway for when it all goes south. He and Isabella can disappear to a non-extradition country with a few million in untraceable cash. The audacity took my breath away. He wasn't just planning to leave me. He was planning to flee the country, abandoning his company, his employees, his debts, and his pregnant wife. Can you get me proof? The fabricated data, the Cayman's account details, the board memo about the capital call, already in your secure Dropbox. She said, the files are time-stamped, with digital fingerprints leading right back to his admin login. It's a slam dunk for securities fraud. Good. Now, I need you to do one more thing. Something creative. I could almost hear her grin through the phone. I love creative. I need you to create a ghost in the machine, a digital profile, a pregnant woman, new to the city, looking for prenatal yoga. Her name is Evelyn Carter. She needs to be soft, a little lonely, financially comfortable, but not flashy. She emails the studio at Hot Power Yoga asking about the Wednesday prenatal class with, "What's the instructor's name?" Chloe was already typing. Isabella Shaw. She's listed as teaching the 10 a.m. gentle flow for expecting moms. Perfect. Evelyn Carter emails. Says a friend recommended her. Asks if there's space. She's shy, hoping to make some mom friends. Can you make that happen? An email trail. Maybe a fake Yelp account. Child's play. I'll have Evelyn Carter born. Fully backstopped. In an hour. She'll get a confirmation reply by noon. What's the play? Evie. I looked at the ultrasound image, still open on my screen. The play, I said, my voice cold, is to get close to her, to be her friend, to learn everything Noah is telling her, and then to use her to destroy him. Noah was in a spectacularly good mood at dinner. He brought home oysters and a bottle of Dom Perignon, a little pre-celebration. He announced, popping the cork, Vortex is sending the final term sheet tomorrow. We're in the end zone. Evie. He poured 2 glasses, pushing one toward me. I looked at the bubbles rising in the flute. I shouldn't. You know, the baby. One sip won't hurt. To the future. He clinked his glass against mine with a force that threatened to shatter both. I brought the glass to my lips, let the cold rim touch them, but didn't drink. The future. His future was a Cayman Islands bank account and a 24-year-old. My future was a courtroom and a single mother's budget. That's wonderful. Noah, I said, setting the glass down. I'm so proud of you. The lie slid out smoothly, coated in wifely admiration. It's all for you guys, he said, his eyes shining with the lie he'd told himself. So often he believed it. He devoured the oysters, talking a mile a minute about the valuation, the new office space in Singapore. The cover of Forbes was being considered for. The grand narrative of Noah Reid. Visionary. I watched him. This man spinning a future out of thin air and other people's money, and felt a profound disconnect. Who was this stranger in my kitchen? My phone, on the counter, buzzed with a new email notification. The sender, Hot Power Yoga. The subject, confirmation for Evelyn Carter, prenatal gentle flow. I smiled. Good news. Just a confirmation for a yoga class I signed up for. I said lightly, trying to stay limber. Good idea, he said, not really listening. You need to take care of yourself. His own phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and a different, more private smile touched his lips. He tapped out a quick reply. I knew who it was. The knowledge was a cold stone in my gut, but it didn't burn anymore. It was just data, evidence. Everything okay at work? I asked, spearing a piece of asparagus. Oh, yeah. Just Isabella finalizing some social assets for the Vortex announcement. She's a rock star. That one really gets the brand. She's very pretty, I said, my voice carefully neutral. In all those company photos. He looked up, a flicker of caution in his eyes. I guess. She's a good employee. That's what matters. He took a long swallow of champagne, changing the subject. So, yoga. Huh. Which studio? Just a place on Fillmore. It came recommended. I let the subject drop. Don't seem too interested. Don't seem suspicious. just a bored, pregnant wife looking for stretching and community. The next morning, Wednesday, I dressed in soft, expensive maternity leggings and a loose tank top. I looked the part of Evelyn Carter, affluent, gentle, a little lost. I told Noah I had a long lunch with Chloe. Give her my love, he said, already absorbed in his laptop. No doubt crafting the narrative for his board about the critical infrastructure cash grab. Hot power yoga was all blonde wood, green plants, and the pervasive smell of eucalyptus. I gave the name Evelyn Carter at the front desk. The girl smiled warmly. Isabella's class. You'll love her. She's the best. Go on in. She's setting up. My heart hammered against my ribs. A traitorous drumbeat of adrenaline and rage. I pushed open the studio door. She was there, alone, rolling out mats in a shaft of morning sunlight. She looked even younger in person, a golden girl with a perfect, high ponytail and the effortless grace of a natural athlete. She wore a sports bra and leggings that showed a stomach still perfectly flat. On her left hand, my platinum wedding band winked in the light. She looked up and smiled, a brilliant, open, California girl smile. Hi, you must be Evelyn. I'm Isabella. So glad you could make it. She came forward, her movements fluid. Her eyes dropped to my pronounced bump. Oh, wow. You're way ahead of me. When are you due? July 10th, I said, my voice a little breathy, perfectly mimicking shyness. A summer baby. How lovely. I'm due in October. She patted her own flat stomach, a gesture both proud and proprietary, just starting to show a little. It's all so new and amazing, isn't it? The casual mention of her pregnancy, to a stranger, was a calculated risk. But Evelyn Carter was safe. She was a fellow pregnant woman, a confidant. It really is, I said, forcing awe into my tone. Every kick is a miracle. Is this your first? It is, she gushed, her face lighting up. I'm so excited, nervous, but excited. My partner is over the moon. She glanced at her ring finger, that secret smile playing on her lips again. That's a beautiful ring, I said, tilting my head. It looks meaningful. She beamed, extending her hand. Thank you. It is. It's a promise. For our future. She didn't elaborate. The lie was a story she was living, and she was the heroine. Other women began to trickle in. The class was gentle, focused on hip openers and breath work. Isabella was a good teacher, encouraging, attentive, her cues clear. She adjusted my downward dog with gentle hands. Beautiful, Evelyn. Just let your belly hang. Create space for your little one. Her kindness was a new kind of torture. It was genuine. In this room, in this role, she wasn't a monster. She was a young woman in love, expecting a baby, building a community. She had no idea the partner who'd given her that ring was married to the woman whose pelvis she was currently helping to align. After class, as we were rolling mats, she sidled up to me. You were great for your first time. How are you feeling? A bit emotional. Actually, I said, letting my eyes get a little shiny. It's hard sometimes. You know, my husband, he's so busy. He's building this huge company, and I'm so proud of him. But I feel like I'm doing all this alone. I waved a hand at my stomach. The appointments, the worrying, the loneliness. Her expression softened into one of deep, empathetic pity. She touched my arm. Oh, Evelyn, I'm so sorry. I totally get that. Men, they get so focused on providing, on the big picture. They forget the day-to-day miracle happening right in front of them. You deserve to feel supported. You're doing the most important job in the world. The hypocrisy was so profound it was almost funny. Here she was, the other woman, offering marriage advice to the wife. Thank you, I whispered, ducking my head. It's just nice to talk to someone who gets it. My friends, they either don't have kids yet or they're so deep in toddlerland they've forgotten what the stage is like. Well, you have a friend in me now, she said, squeezing my arm. Seriously, we should get coffee after class next week. There's a great place next door with amazing decaf lattes. I'd love that, I said, smiling through the sheer, breathtaking audacity of it all. As I drove home, my hands were steady on the wheel. The encounter had been a success. I was in. The hook was set. But seeing her, talking to her, had made the enemy real. She wasn't just a name in a dossier or a hand in a photo. She was a person who was sleeping with my husband, carrying his child, and wearing my ring while offering me sympathy. The pity I'd felt for her evaporated, replaced by a colder, harder resolve. She might be a fool, but she was a willing fool. She knew he was married. The financial trail proved she was a willing beneficiary of his fraud. She was complicit. My phone rang. It was Rourke. He took her to lunch. Rourke said without preamble, "The Ivy. Very public. Lots of physical contact. I have pictures." He also gave her a bracelet. Looked expensive. After, they went back to her apartment. He's still there. It's 2 p.m. on a Wednesday. Ms. Reed, keep watching, I said. And Rourke, I need audio from inside that apartment. As soon as possible. The building's security is top-notch. It'll require a significant risk and a significant bonus. Bill me, I said, and hung up. When I got home, the penthouse was empty and silent. I went straight to the study and opened my laptop. Chloe had sent new files, the fabricated data packs for Vortex Capital, the board memo for the $2 million capital call, and a new folder, labeled Internal Chats, Noah Isabella. With a deep breath, I opened it. It was a log extracted from Ether's internal messaging system, a platform called Nexus. They'd been using a private channel, thinking it was secure. It was a torrent of inanity, lust, and conspiracy. No honor, sir. Meeting running long. Dreaming of you. Of last night. Isabella Anderson. Last night was magic. I can still feel you. My ring is so beautiful. I can't stop looking at it. No wonder, sir. It looks perfect on you. Where it belongs. Soon. You won't have to take it off when we're at work. Isabella Anderson. How soon? I'm starting to show. I wore a looser blouse today. People will talk. No wonder, sir. After Singapore closes, the money changes everything. I'll handle Evelyn. She's fragile right now. The pregnancy, it's made her unstable. I have to be careful. Isabella Anderson. I hate that you have to go home to her. That you have to pretend. No wonder, sir. I know. My love. But it's almost over. The capital call next week gives us our runway. Once the Vortex money hits, we're free. I'm thinking Bali for a while. You, me, and our little one. A fresh start. I read the words. Over and over. Fragile. Unstable. Have to be careful. He was constructing a narrative. Not just for the outside world, but for himself. A narrative where leaving his pregnant wife wasn't monstrous, but necessary. Where I was the problem. My pregnancy was an instability. And Bali. A fresh start with our little one. My child would be a month old. He'd be abandoning her. The cold rage returned. Pure and clarifying. He wanted to paint me as unstable. Fine. I'd show him unstable. I'd show him what a woman with nothing left to lose could do. I called my mother. The capital call is next Tuesday. He's asking the board for $2 million, claiming it's for infrastructure. It's for a Cayman's escape fund. We need to move before then. We need to expose the fraud to the board and trigger the prenup clause simultaneously. He needs to be completely boxed in. I agree, Diana said. I'm drafting the divorce filing now. We'll serve him at the office. A public spectacle. But we need irrefutable proof of the fraud for the board, or they might circle the wagons around him. I have it, I said. Chloe got everything. Fabricated data. The Cayman's account. The Nexus chats where he plans his escape with Isabella. It's all time-stamped and tied to his login. A low, satisfied hum came from my mother. Excellent. Send it to me. I'll have a discreet conversation with Arthur Benchley. Arthur Benchley was Ether's lead board member, an old-school venture capitalist who valued ethics almost as much as returns. He'd been a mentor to Noah. This betrayal would be personal. "There's one more thing," I said, my voice dropping. "I've made contact with Isabella. I'm going to see her again next week. For coffee." Silence. Then, "Evelyn, that is a monumental risk. If she realizes who you are." "She won't. She sees a sad, lonely pregnant woman named Evelyn Carter. She pities me. She's going to confide in me, and I'm going to get it on tape." Another pause. I could almost hear the legal and strategic calculations whirring in my mother's head. Using a recording in a two-party consent state, like California, is... I'm not going to record her for court. I interrupted. I'm going to record her for Noah. A little. Private screening. Once everything else falls apart. I want him to hear the sound of his true love betraying him to his fragile wife. The smile in my mother's voice was audible. "My girl, you're learning. Just be careful. One misstep." "I won't misstep," I said, my gaze falling on the ultrasound image still on my screen. "This is for my daughter. There is no room for error." I spent the rest of the week in a performance worthy of Streep. I was sweet, supportive, slightly distracted, the perfect portrait of a pregnant woman wrapped up in her own world. I asked Noah gentle questions about his work, feigning confusion at the answers, reinforcing his belief in my benign ignorance. I let him see me crying at a sappy commercial, sighing about my swollen feet, talking to the baby in my belly, fragile, unstable. He ate it up. His condescension was a velvet cloak. He'd pat my head, tell me to rest, assure me he had everything under control. The more helpless he thought I was, the more reckless he became. Rourke planted the bugs in Isabella's apartment over the weekend. On Monday morning, the first audio files arrived. I listened to them with clinical detachment, wearing noise-canceling headphones in my locked study. The sounds were intimate, mundane, and damning. The clink of wine glasses, the murmur of the television, laughter, and then their voices, clearer than I'd imagined. "Noah, did you get the transfer?" "Isabella, the 20,000. Yes. Baby, thank you. For the nursery. Noah, for whatever you need. Next week. After the board wires the 2 mil, it'll be 50 times that. We'll be set. Isabella, I'm just scared. What if she finds out before you're ready?" "Noah, Evelyn, she's in her own world. She thinks my biggest worry is the color of the nursery. She has no idea about any of this. By the time she realizes I'm gone, we'll be on a beach with new passports. She'll have the house, the baby. That's what she wants. A quiet life. We want an adventure." I stopped the recording. The coldness in his voice, the casual way he dismissed me and our child, was absolute. We were obstacles, furniture to be left behind. I saved the file. It was another piece of the weapon I was forging. Tuesday arrived, the day of the board meeting and the capital call. Noah dressed with extra care, in a suit that cost more than my first car. He was vibrating with nervous energy. "Big day," I said, handing him his travel mug of coffee. "The biggest," he said, kissing my forehead. "After today, everything changes. For the better." "I hope so," I said, smiling up at him. "Good luck." I waited until I heard the elevator doors close. Then I moved. I called my mother. "It's time. Send the package to Arthur Benchley and have the process server ready. Noah's board meeting starts at 10 a.m. I want him served at 10:15, right in the middle of his pitch for the fraud money." "It's done," she said. "The board package went to Benchley and the other independent directors an hour ago. The process server is in the lobby. He has the photos, the financials, the chat logs. He'll serve him for divorce, citing adultery and fraud. And he'll also serve the notice that we're filing an injunction to freeze all assets, including the requested capital call funds. Based on the dissipation clause." I took a deep, shuddering breath. This was the first domino. Once it fell, the cascade would be unstoppable. Okay, I said. I'm going to yoga. Isabella was glowing in class. She practically floated through the sun salutations. Afterward, as we packed up, she looped her arm through mine. Decaf latte time. I have Samik to tell you. We got a table by the window at the cafe next door. She ordered a decaf oat milk latte. I got herbal tea. So, she said, leaning forward, her eyes sparkling with a secret joy. Something amazing happened. My partner. He's finally closing his big deal. The one that's been keeping him so busy. It means we can finally be together. Properly. No more hiding. I widen my eyes. The picture of innocent excitement. Isabella, that's incredible. I'm so happy for you. You must be over the moon. I am. She gushed. It's been so hard. You know, loving someone you can't fully have. But he promised me. He said after this deal, he'd leave her. He said she's not well. Very dependent. The pregnancy has been hard on her mentally. He feels responsible. But he can't live a lie anymore. She shook her head, a portrait of sympathetic anguish. It's so sad. But sometimes you have to choose your own happiness. Right. The audacity. The sheer, breathtaking rewriting of reality. In her story, she was the heroine, saving Noah from his mentally unstable wife. I was a plot point, an obstacle of pity. It sounds incredibly difficult, I said, pouring empathy into my voice. For everyone, but you deserve your happiness. Does his wife know? About you, about the baby? Isabella's expression turned coy. Not yet. He's going to tell her soon. Gently. He's a good man. He doesn't want to hurt her more than necessary. But he said she'll be taken care of. She'll have the house, the baby. That's all she really wants. A simple life. We want more. Travel, adventure, a real partnership. She looked down at her stomach, then at her ring. This is my promise. For that future, I reached across the table and squeezed her hand, the one wearing my wedding band. It's a beautiful promise, I whispered. And in my bag, on the floor by my feet, my phone's voice memo app recorded every single traitorous word. The text from my mother came at 10:24 a.m. as I was paying the cafe bill. Isabella's confessions, a toxic jewel in my pocket. Benchley is livid. The process server just walked into the boardroom. Call me when you're clear. A serene, icy calm settled over me. I smiled at Isabella, who was still floating on her cloud of deluded triumph. I should get going. Thank you for the coffee. And the talk. It really helped. Any time. Evelyn. She beamed. We're in this together. Right. The sisterhood of moms-to-be. Right. I thought. The sisterhood. I gave her a final, warm smile and walked out into the San Francisco morning. The first call came when I was halfway home. It was Noah. I let it go to voicemail. He called again and again. On the fourth ring, I answered, my voice a study in breathy, concerned confusion. Noah, honey, is everything okay? You're calling in the middle of your big meeting. Where are you? His roar was so loud I had to pull the phone from my ear. It was a raw, unfiltered sound of pure panic and fury. I could hear muffled voices, shouting. In the background, the boardroom in chaos. I'm just driving home from a coffee with a friend. Noah, you're scaring me. What's wrong? Did the deal fall through? A bark of hysterical laughter. Fall through? Evelyn, what the fuck have you done? A man just walked in here and served me with divorce papers. In front of the entire board. Arthur is threatening to have me arrested for fraud. They're freezing everything. The capital call. The Vortex deal. It's all gone. Did you do this? Did you? I let the silence hang for a 3 count, letting him marinate in his terror. Then, in a small, trembling voice, I said, Noah, I don't understand. Divorce. Why would you be served with? I let my voice break. Is this about the ring? Dead silence on the other end. Then, a hoarse whisper. What? My wedding band, I said, injecting a world of hurt and dawning realization into my tone. The one that went missing. I saw a photo. Noah. On an account. At an undercertified. I was looking for nursery ideas on your tablet. And I saw it. Her hand. My ring. A choked sob. Perfectly timed. Is it true? Are you with someone? It was a masterful performance. The hurt wife, stumbling upon the truth. Not a strategist who'd orchestrated his ruin. I needed him off balance. Confused. Still thinking I was a step behind. Evelyn, listen to me. His voice dropped, shifting to the smooth, placating tone he used to calm nervous investors. It's not what it looks like. That's a social media test account. For the new app, it's a narrative prototype. The ring is a prop. You're misunderstanding everything. A prop, I whispered. The caption said my true love. Was I a prototype too? Noah, for 12 years. You're being hysterical. He snapped, the mask of calm cracking. This isn't about some stupid Instagram post. This is about you sending God knows what to my board. Sabotaging my company. My life. Do you have any idea what you've done? Now was the time to twist the knife. I didn't send anything to your board. Noah, I said, my voice hardening. Just a fraction. The hysterical wife receding. Something colder taking her place. But if they know about fraud, maybe someone else did. Someone who knows what you're really doing with the money. Someone who's tired of being your secret. I could practically hear the gears grinding to a halt in his brain. Isabella. The thought was a living thing between us. You stay away from her. He growled. Low and dangerous. Stay away from who? Noah. I asked innocently. Your social media strategist. The one with the 8.000 minus A minus month apartment and 15.000 ring. The one who's 12 weeks pregnant. The gasp on the other end of the line was pure, undiluted shock. I'd never said Isabella's name. I'd never mentioned the pregnancy. The floor had just vanished beneath his feet. How? How do you know that? The words were barely audible. I know everything, I said, my voice flat. All pretense gone. The Swiss account. Project Icarus. The fake data for Vortex. The Cayman's escape fund. The plan for Bali. I know you paid off her student loans. I know you call her your true love. I've known for weeks. The silence that followed was profound, broken only by the ragged sound of his breathing. When he spoke again, it was the voice of a stranger, hollow with defeat and a dawning. Terrible understanding. I've been in the board package. Noah. Every email. Every transfer. Every Nexus chat. Arthur Benchley has it all. The SEC will have it by end of day. The divorce filing cites adultery and fraud. The prenup means you get nothing. Not from me. And not from Ether once the lawsuits start. You bitch. He hissed. The venom will last. Pathetic defense. You scheming. Psychotic bitch. You've destroyed me. No, I said calmly, pulling into my building's underground garage. You did that yourself. I just collected the evidence. And Noah, one more thing. What? He spat. I had coffee with Isabella this morning. She's lovely. So excited about your future. She thinks your wife is mentally unstable. A burden. She told me everything. It's on recording. I'll send you the highlights. I hung up, turned off the phone, and sat in the dim, cool silence of the garage. My hands were steady. My heart was a slow, even drum. There was no euphoria, just a vast, quiet emptiness, and in its center, a cold, hard diamond of satisfaction. The storm broke in the afternoon. First, the news alert on my laptop. Tech darling Ether under scandal. CEO accused of fraud. Board ousts founder. The article was light on details but heavy on implications. Noah's photo, once the picture of boy genius success, now looked like a mugshot. Then, the sound of the elevator, the furious, repetitive punching of the penthouse access code, the beep of denied entry. I had changed the codes that morning. He started pounding on the thick metal door. Evelyn, open the goddamn door. We need to talk. I walked to the foyer, but didn't deactivate the lock. I stood, watching his distorted shape through the fisheye peephole. He looked wrecked. His tie was gone, his shirt rumpled, his hair standing on end. Go away. Noah, your lawyer can talk to my lawyer. Please, Evie, please. You have to listen to me. It's all a misunderstanding. She means nothing. It was a mistake. The money. I can explain everything. The pathetic desperation in his voice was a balm. This was the man who'd called me his true love's gift. This was the man who'd planned to flee to Bali. The only thing I have to do, I said, my voice clear and cold through the door, is protect my child from her criminal father. Now leave, before I call the police and have you removed. The restraining order is filed. It just needs a judge's signature. I'd hate for you to spend the night in jail. The pounding stopped. I heard a thud, as if he'd slumped against the door. Then, a low, broken sound that might have been a sob. You can't do this. The baby. She's my daughter too. You should have thought of that before you fathered another one, I said, and walked away. I went to the study. Rourke had sent new audio files. From the chaos in Isabella's apartment, I put on my headphones. It was the sound of a world ending. Raised voices, crying, the smash of glass. Noah, you told her. You told some random woman at a coffee shop our entire plan. Isabella. She wasn't random. She was a friend. She understood. I needed to talk to someone. How was I supposed to know she was a spy? How was I supposed to know your wife is a fucking psychopath? Noah, my wife is a financial analyst and the daughter of Diana Reed. She's not a psychopath. She's a predator, and you served yourself to her on a silver platter. A loud crash. Isabella, don't you dare throw things. This is your fault. You said she was clueless. You said she was fragile. You said we'd be safe. Now I'm pregnant. My name is all over the news as your mistress. I'm going to be fired. And you're broke. Noah, I'm not broke. I still have assets. Isabella, that are all frozen. The board took everything. The apartment lease is in your shell company. They'll evict me. What am I supposed to do? Noah, what about our baby? The recording dissolved into hysterical sobs and slammed doors. I stopped it. I'd heard enough. My mother called. The injunction is granted. All assets, including the Swiss and Cayman's accounts, are frozen. The board has voted unanimously to remove him as CEO and refer the matter to the SEC and the U.S. Attorney. He's finished. Legally, financially, professionally, and the divorce. I asked, with the prenup clause triggered and the criminal allegations. It's a formality. You'll get the penthouse, the liquid assets that aren't tied up in litigation, full physical and legal custody, and substantial child support. He'll be liable for your legal fees as well. It's the cleanest kill I've ever seen. There was no triumph in her voice, just the steely satisfaction of a job well done. How are you holding up? I looked down at my belly, where my daughter was practicing what felt like soccer drills. I'm okay, Mom. Really? Good. Now, the other matter. The girl, Isabella, the true love. Now, just a pregnant, jobless, soon-to-be homeless 24-year-old caught in the blast radius. I'll handle it, I said. I gave it 2 days. 2 days for the news cycles to churn. For Noah to be formally perp-walked out of ether by security. For the reality to sink in for both of them. Then, I had Rourke deliver a message to Isabella, a time and a place, a quiet, private conference room in my mother's law firm. She arrived looking like a ghost of the sun-kissed yoga instructor. Her face was pale, stripped of makeup, her eyes red-rimmed and terrified. She clutched a cheap tote bag like a life preserver. She flinched when she saw me. sitting calmly at the head of the polished table. You, she whispered, her voice raw. Me. I agreed. Have a seat. Isabella. Evelyn. Carter, she said, the fake name tasting like ash. Evelyn Reed. I corrected gently. Noah's wife. The fragile, unstable burden. Please, sit. She collapsed into the chair, her body trembling. What do you want? To gloat? To hurt me? I've lost everything because of you. Because of me. I arched an eyebrow. You lost everything because you chose to have an affair with a married man. Because you accepted a ring that wasn't yours. Money that wasn't his to give. And a future built on fraud. You're not a victim here. Isabella, you're a co-conspirator who got caught. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I loved him. You loved the lifestyle he bought you. I said, not unkindly. And that's gone now. The apartment lease is terminated. Your employment at Ether is terminated. For cause, any gifts purchased with misappropriated funds are subject to clawback. You have no income. You're about to have no home. And you're 3 months pregnant. She stared at me, horror dawning. What am I supposed to do? I slid a manila folder across the table. That depends on you. In that folder is a signed affidavit. It states, in detail, the nature of your relationship with Noah Reed. It includes his promises to leave me, his comments about my mental state, his knowledge of your pregnancy, and his plans to misuse company funds for your benefit and his escape. It's a sworn statement. She stared at it like it was a live snake. Why would I sign that? It makes me look like a whore. It makes you look like a witness. I corrected. The DA is building a fraud case against Noah. Your cooperation would be valuable. In return, I am prepared to make this problem go away for you. Her eyes narrowed. How? You sign the affidavit. You agree to testify if called. In return, I will not pursue the return of the gifts, the ring, the jewelry, the car allowance. I will provide you with a one-time settlement of $75,000. It's not a fortune, but it's enough for a fresh start somewhere else. A down payment on a small condo, or living expenses while you have the baby and find a new job. Far away from here, and far away from Noah. She looked from the folder to my face, searching for the trap. Why would you help me? After what I did. I'm not helping you, I said flatly. I'm disposing of a loose end. Noah's greatest fear is exposure and powerlessness. This affidavit, coming from you, his true love is the final nail. It proves the personal corruption behind the financial fraud. It seals his fate, and it gets you out of my city and out of my life forever. It's a business transaction. She was silent for a long time, her hand resting on her still flat stomach. I could see the calculations in her eyes, the fear, the survival instinct winning out over any residual loyalty to a man who is now a bankrupt fraudster. And if I don't? She asked quietly. I shrugged. Then you're on your own. The eviction proceeds. The clawback lawsuits proceed. You'll be a named party in the divorce. Your name and photo splashed across every tabloid as the homewrecker who brought down a tech wunderkind. You'll have a baby with a father in federal prison, no money, and a reputation that will follow you anywhere in this industry. Your choice. She swallowed hard. A single tear traced a path through the dust on her cheek. She looked broken, young, not a villain, just a foolish girl who'd believed a handsome liar. Without a word, she opened the folder, picked up the pen lying next to it, and began to sign. I watched her, the woman who had worn my ring. There was no victory in it, just a grim, necessary conclusion. When she finished, she pushed the folder back to me, the weight of the signature seeming to physically diminish her. The money, she whispered. It will be wired to an account of your choosing within 24 hours of the DA confirming receipt of your affidavit. I said, my assistant will arrange for a courier to collect your key from the Russian Hill apartment. You have 48 hours to remove your personal effects. After that, you are never to contact me, my family, or no again. Are we clear? She nodded, unable to meet my eyes. She stood up, shaky, and walked to the door. She paused, her hand on the knob, but didn't turn around. He never loved you. You know, she said, the words a faint, brittle attempt at a last, pathetic strike. I smiled, though she couldn't see it. I know, I said, and soon, the whole world will know he never loved you, either. He only loved the story. Goodbye, Isabella. She flinched, then opened the door and slipped out, leaving behind the faint, lingering scent of her perfume and the signed confession of my husband's ruin. I picked up the affidavit. The ink was still wet. I scanned it, ensuring every damning line was clear. Then I placed it in my briefcase, next to the file containing the recording of our coffee chat. The trap was sprung. Every exit was sealed. Now, it was time for the final move. The piece de resistance. The thing Noah feared most wasn't just losing money or his company. It was being rendered irrelevant, powerless. A punchline. I took out my personal phone, the one with no connection to Evelyn Reed or Evelyn Carter. I opened the encrypted messaging app Chloe had set up. I attached 2 files, the audio recording of Isabella in the cafe and the scanned affidavit. I typed a single message to a burn number that would reach the one place Noah was currently holed up, a pay-by-the-hour motel on the outskirts of Oakland. His credit cards frozen, his empire dust. A gift from your wife. I typed, so you can remember what true love really sounds like. I hit send. The files whirred away into the digital void. Then, I leaned back in the leather chair, placed my hands on the curve of my belly, and waited for the scream. The scream came not as a sound, but as a physical assault on the penthouse door at 3:17 a.m. It wasn't knocking. It was a full body, primal bombardment of fists, shoulders, and what sounded like a boot against the reinforced steel. The furious, guttural roar that accompanied it was almost unrecognizable as human. Evelyn, open this door. You crazy bitch. I'll kill you. Do you hear me? I'll fucking kill you. I was already awake, sitting in the living room's largest armchair, a blanket over my lap, a cup of warm milk untouched on the side table. I'd been waiting. Rourke had texted an hour ago. Subject: E received a data packet on a burner phone. Subsequent reaction: extreme. He's left the motel, driving erratically toward your location. Police alerted per your instruction. ETA 15 minutes. I'd called off the police. I wanted this confrontation. I needed to look him in the eye when the last pillar of his delusion crumbled. I watched the security monitor I'd set up on the coffee table. The fisheye lens of the door camera showed a monster. Noah's face was a twisted mask of rage, tears, and 3 days' worth of beard. His clothes were rumpled, his eyes wild and bloodshot. He'd lost his jacket somewhere. His white shirt was stained and torn at the collar. The golden boy was gone, replaced by a cornered, feral thing. He stopped pounding, leaning his forehead against the door, his breath fogging the security peephole. Please. The word was a broken sob, a shocking contrast to the violence of seconds before. Evelyn, please. You have to talk to me. You sent that recording. You made her sign that thing. Why? Why are you doing this? I took a slow sip of the milk, letting the silence stretch. Let him stew in the echo of his own collapse. Then, I reached for the tablet that controlled the penthouse's smart system. I didn't deactivate the primary deadbolts, but I unmuted the intercom. Why am I doing this? Noah, my voice, amplified slightly, was calm, clear, and cutting in the silent foyer. You stood in front of our family and friends and vowed to forsake all others. You put a ring on my finger. You put your child inside me. And then you took that ring and gave it to a 24-year-old employee, calling her your true love. You funded her life with money that belonged to our child. You lied. You stole. You fabricated an entire business to cover your tracks. You plan to abandon me and your newborn daughter to run away with her. And you're asking me why. He slammed his fist against the door again. A single, impotent thud. It was a mistake. She meant nothing. It was stress. It was the pressure. It was a moment of weakness. You have to understand. I understand perfectly, I said, my voice like ice. I've read every Nexus chat. I've seen every transaction. I've listened to you plot your escape. There's no misunderstanding. Noah, there's only evidence. Mountains of it. Then what do you want? He screamed, the plaintive note vanishing. Consumed by fury. Revenge. You've got it. I have nothing. The board took the company. The feds are at my lawyer's office. My face is on the front of the goddamn Chronicle. My parents won't take my calls. I'm living in a shithole motel that rents by the hour. Are you happy now? I let the question hang in the air. On the monitor, he'd slid down the door, sitting on the floor of the hallway, his back against it, his head in his hands, the image of abject defeat. I want you to listen, I said quietly. I tapped the tablet. Through the intercom, a new sound filled the foyer, not my voice, but Isabella's, bright, confiding, tinged with pity. He said she's not well, very dependent. The pregnancy has been hard on her mentally. He feels responsible, but he can't live a lie anymore. He said she'll be taken care of. She'll have the house, the baby. That's all she really wants. A simple life. We want more. Travel, adventure, a real partnership. Noah went rigid, then began to shake, a low, animal moan escaping him. I switched clips. Now, the audio from the bug in Isabella's apartment. The night everything fell apart. Her voice, shrill with betrayal. You said she was clueless. You said she was fragile. You said we'd be safe. Now I'm pregnant. My name is all over the news as your mistress. I'm going to be fired, and you're broke. I stopped the playback. The silence was heavier than before. Your true love has a very clear understanding of our relationship, I said, or at least, the one you sold her, the fragile, simple wife, the burden. He was crying now, messy, heaving sobs that racked his frame. Stop, please, stop. You should hear the affidavit. I continued, merciless. The sworn statement she gave the district attorney. It's very detailed. About the promises, the plans, the comments about my mental state. It's the cornerstone of the prosecution's claim that your fraud was fueled by personal corruption. She was very cooperative. For $75,000 and a clean getaway. His head snapped up. He stared at the intercom grill as if he could see me through it. You paid her. I incentivized her to tell the truth. I corrected. A business transaction. Something you'd understand. If you understood anything about real business and not just fraud and fantasy. He scrambled to his feet. His face pressed to the door. You're a monster. You're a cold, calculating monster. Finally, a real laugh escaped me. Short and bitter. I learned from the best. Noah, now, listen to me very carefully. You are going to leave. You are going to contest nothing in the divorce. You are going to sign the custody agreement granting me sole legal and physical custody, with your visitation to be determined at a later date by a family court therapist. You are going to agree to the child support as calculated. In return, I will not pursue further civil action against you for the stolen funds. You'll still have the SEC and the U.S. attorney to deal with, but I won't add my own lawsuit to the pile. And if I don't, he snarled, a last vestige of fight. Then I released the full, unedited recording of my coffee with Isabella to the press, along with a timeline showing you got her pregnant while I was in my second trimester. The narrative won't be tech fraud. It'll be sociopathic, husband betrays pregnant wife, plots escape with pregnant mistress. You'll be a pariah, not just in business, but in life. No one will hire you. No one will rent to you. Your own child will grow up reading about what you did to her mother while she was in the womb. You'll be a cautionary tale in women's magazines. Is that the legacy you want? The fight drained out of him. He leaned his forehead against the door again. Defeated. You've thought of everything. I've had a lot of time while you were playing house with Isabella. I said, do we have an understanding? A long, shuddering exhale. Yes. Good. Your lawyer will receive the papers tomorrow. See that he signs them. Now, get out of my building. I cut the intercom. On the monitor, he stood there for a full minute, a broken statue in the expensive hallway. Then, slowly, he turned and shuffled toward the elevator, his shoulders slumped. The ghost of the man who had walked out of here 3 days ago in a $5,000 suit. I waited until the elevator doors closed. Then, and only then, did I let the tremor start in my hands. I set the tablet down carefully, wrapped the blanket tighter around my shoulders, and took a deep, shaky breath. The performance was over. The confrontation was done. I had won, and it tasted like ashes. The papers were signed without a fight. Noah's criminal lawyer had undoubtedly advised him that fighting the divorce would only anger the wife who held the key to so much of the evidence against him. It was a cold calculus, and he took the deal. My mother handled the final dissolution. It was, as she predicted, a formality. The prenuptial agreement's moral turpitude clause was ironclad. I was awarded the penthouse, the remaining liquid assets, not frozen by the feds, full custody, and a child support order that would be a millstone around Noah's neck for the next 18 years, assuming he ever had a legitimate income again. The day the divorce was finalized, I went into labor. It was 2 weeks early, but fierce and insistent, as if my daughter knew the legal ties were severed and it was finally safe to enter a world where her father was not the king of it. 27 hours later, drenched in sweat and trembling with a pain and power I had never imagined, I held her. She was perfect. A shock of dark hair, my mother's chin, and a pair of lungs that announced her arrival with indignant, mighty roars. They placed her on my chest. A warm, wriggling, miraculous weight. Hello, Charlotte, I whispered. The name we'd chosen a lifetime ago, when Noah had still been my husband and not my enemy. A tear I couldn't control slipped down my temple and into my hairline. It was the first tear I'd shed for me, and not for the plan. In months, my mother was there, a solid, immovable presence holding my hand. Chloe was in the waiting room, probably hacking the hospital's Wi-Fi for fun. There was no Noah. He wasn't allowed in the delivery room per the custody agreement, and he hadn't asked to be. It was better this way. The first month was a blur of sleepless nights, milky dawns, and the all-consuming reality of a newborn. Charlotte was a demanding, beautiful tyrant, and I was her willing subject. The world of Noah, Ether, and Isabella receded, becoming a distant, bad dream. My life shrank to the dimensions of the penthouse nursery, the soft glow of the nightlight, the scent of baby shampoo. The peace was shattered by a voicemail. It was from a number I didn't recognize, but the ragged, defeated voice was unmistakable. Evelyn, it's Noah. I know I'm not supposed to call. I got the papers about Charlotte. I saw the photo they sent. She's beautiful. A long pause, filled with static and shame. I need to see you, to talk, not about the divorce, not about her. About something else. Something important. Please. There's a diner on Geary. The Starlight. I'll be there tomorrow at noon. Please come. I deleted the message. I had no intention of going. Seeing him was a risk. An emotional landmine I didn't need to tread on. But curiosity is a corrosive thing. What something else could there possibly be? An apology. A plea. A new scheme. By 11:45 a.m. the next day, with Charlotte fed, changed, and asleep in the care of the postpartum nurse my mother had hired, I found myself in an Uber, giving the address for the Starlight Diner. I told myself it was to see the depth of his ruin, to look at the consequences of my victory. It was a lie. I needed to see if the monster was gone, and what, if anything, was left in its place. The star light was a relic. All cracked red vinyl and the smell of old grease. Noah sat in a back booth, facing the door. He saw me the moment I walked in. He looked diminished, thinner. His once vibrant eyes were dull. He wore a cheap, ill-fitting button-down shirt. The aura of power and money that had clung to him like a second skin was gone, leaving just a man, hunched over a cup of black coffee. I slid into the booth opposite him, not bothering to take off my coat. "You have 10 minutes." He flinched at my tone, but nodded. "Thank you for coming. I ordered you tea. Decaf. I remember." He gestured to a steaming mug on my side of the table. I didn't touch it. 9 minutes. He took a deep breath, his eyes on his coffee. "I'm sorry, Evelyn. I know those words mean nothing. They're too small. But I am. For everything. For the betrayal. For the lies. For the cruelty. For Isabella. For the ring. For all of it." He finally looked up, and to my shock, his eyes were glistening. "I destroyed the best thing I ever had. I know that now. I'm so sorry." I felt nothing. No softening. No sympathy. Just a distant, clinical observation. "Is that the something important?" "No," he said, shaking his head. "That's just something I needed to say. The important thing is, I'm getting help. Therapy. The court-mandated kind. For the fraud case. But I'm actually doing it. I'm trying to understand why I did what I did. The grandiosity. The entitlement. The need to have a narrative where I was the hero, even when I was the villain." He gave a weak, self-deprecating smile. "Turns out I'm not that special. Just another narcissist with a credit line." I remained silent. Let him talk. "I'm pleading guilty to the securities fraud," he said, his voice dropping. "My lawyer says with cooperation, I'll get 18 to 24 months, maybe less with good behavior. It's a deal. I'll be a felon, but it's what I deserve." This was news. A guilty plea would expedite everything. It would also be a final, public admission of his crimes. "That seems prudent," I said neutrally. "I'm not telling you to get your sympathy," he said, reading my tone. "I'm telling you because of Charlotte. When I get out, I'd like a chance. Not now, not for a long time, but someday. To know her, to be some version of a father to her. Not the one she deserves. I'll never be that, but something better than what I was." This was the play, the redemption arc, the jailhouse conversion. I studied his face, looking for the calculation, the manipulation. I saw only a raw, hopeless sincerity. It was more unnerving than his rage. That will be up to the court-appointed therapist. And eventually, Charlotte, I said, my voice leaving no room for debate. "Based on your actions, not your words." He nodded, accepting the blow. "I know. I wanted you to hear it from me. And there's one more thing." He reached into the pocket of his cheap jacket and pulled out a small, crumpled velvet pouch. He pushed it across the Formica table toward me. I stared at it. I knew what it was before I opened it. My wedding band, the simple platinum loop, now slightly scuffed. It felt cold and dead in my palm. "I got it back from her," he said, his voice barely a whisper. "Before she left town. I had to beg. I traded the last cash I had hidden. It's yours. It always was. I'm so sorry I ever took it off your hand." I closed my fingers around the metal, the symbol of a promise he shattered. It meant nothing now, less than nothing, but it was a piece of my history, my daughter's history. I slipped the pouch into my own pocket. "Thank you," I said, because it was the only thing to say. We sat in silence for a moment, the diner humming around us. "How is she?" he asked, the question tentative, fraught. "Charlotte," and for the first time, I felt a crack in my armor, not for him, but for the sheer, universal enormity of what he was missing. "She's perfect," I said, and my voice softened despite itself. "She has your ears, and a temper that's all her own." A smile, real and heartbreaking in its sadness, touched his lips. "Yeah, That's good. He swallowed hard. Will you tell her about me? Not the bad stuff. Not yet. But that I existed. That I loved her. In my own messed up way. Even before she was born. I looked at this broken man. This stranger who was half of my daughter. The fury was gone. The hatred was a cold, spent coal. All that was left was a profound, exhausting pity. I'll tell her the truth. Noah, when she's old enough to understand it. All of it. He nodded, tears finally spilling over. That's fair. That's more than fair. He wiped his face with a crumpled paper napkin. My 10 minutes are up. I stood, pulling my coat around me. Goodbye, Noah. Goodbye, Evelyn. I walked out of the diner, into the pale San Francisco sunlight. I didn't look back. I walked 2 blocks, to a small, overlooked park overlooking a storm drain that trickled into the bay. I took the velvet pouch from my pocket, opened it, and tipped the ring into my palm. I looked at it one last time. The metal caught the light, gleaming dully. A promise, a lie, a weapon, a relic. Then I drew my arm back and threw it, as hard as I could, into the murky, rushing water of the drain. It flashed once, a silver fish, and then was gone, swallowed by the city's dark underbelly. A weight I hadn't even known I was carrying lifted from my chest. It was done, truly done. My phone buzzed. A text from Chloe. Hey mama, how's the little dictator? Get back here. I brought cannoli and I'm not sharing with the nurse. I smiled, a real, unfettered smile that warmed me from the inside out. I texted back, on my way. Save me a ricotta one. I turned my back on the drain, on the diner, on the ghost of my old life, and walked toward the curb to hail a cab. I was going home, to my daughter, to my friends, to my mother, to the life I had built from the ashes of the one he burned down. I was Evelyn Reed, not Noah's wife, not a victim, a mother, a survivor, and finally, I was free. The gavel of Judge Evelyn Ramirez came down with a final, satisfying crack. Having considered the overwhelming evidence of dissipation of marital assets, fraud, and reckless endangerment of marital stability, the court finds in favor of the petitioner, Evelyn Reed. The prenuptial agreement is upheld in its entirety. The respondent's financial claims are denied. Permanent orders are entered as stipulated. Sole legal and physical custody to Ms. Reed, with respondent's visitation rights suspended pending completion of his custodial sentence and a positive evaluation from a court-appointed reunification therapist. Child support is set at the maximum guideline amount. This court is adjourned. It was over. The legal war was won. Utterly, completely, decisively. Noah, seated at the defendant's table with his overworked public defender, didn't flinch. He just stared straight ahead. His shoulders slumped under the cheap fabric of a suit that was a size too big. The sentencing for the criminal fraud charges was next week. This was just the formal burial of his civil life. He looked hollowed out, a shell of the charismatic force who had once convinced rooms of skeptics to give him millions. He didn't look at me as the bailiff led him out a side door, back to the county jail where he was being held pending sentencing. My mother, Diana, placed a steadying hand on my shoulder. It's done, Evelyn. He can't touch you. He can't touch Charlotte. Not ever again. I nodded, the adrenaline of the final hearing ebbing, leaving a profound, weary stillness in its wake. Thank you, Mom, for everything. She gave my shoulder a squeeze. You did the work. I just pointed the cannons. Now, let's go see that granddaughter of mine. I believe she was promised a visit to the park to celebrate her mother's freedom. Freedom looked like the playground at Alta Plaza Park, with its sweeping views of the city and the bay. It looked like Charlotte, now 6 months old, sitting triumphantly in a swing, her dark curls peeking out from under a sun hat, chortling with glee as I gave her gentle pushes. It looked like Chloe, attempting to fold herself into a toddler-sized slide and getting stuck. to the delight of a group of nearby preschoolers. It looked like my mother, sitting regally on a bench. Her stern lawyer's face softened into a besotted smile as she watched her granddaughter. This was my life now. It was smaller, in the way that mattered. It wasn't defined by a penthouse view or a husband's net worth. It was defined by the weight of Charlotte in my arms, the sound of her laugh, the quiet exhaustion of a day spent entirely for her. A shadow fell across the sun-warmed sand at my feet. I looked up, my body instinctively tensing, one hand going to the stroller brake. It was Arthur Benchley, Noah's former mentor, the venture capitalist who had led the charge to oust him. He looked older than the last time I'd seen him at a company holiday party, the lines on his face deeper, etched with disappointment. "Evelyn," he said, his voice grave, "may I have a word?" I glanced at my mother. She gave a slight, imperceptible nod. She'd known he was coming. "Of course. Arthur, let's walk." We moved away from the shrieks and laughter of the playground, onto a quieter path lined with cypress trees. Charlotte, sensing a change, began to fuss. I lifted her from the swing, settling her against my shoulder, her familiar, milky scent a comfort. "I won't take much of your time," Benchley began, his hands clasped behind his back. "First, I want to apologize to you, personally. I was on your board. I considered Noah a protege. I missed the signs. I failed in my duty of oversight, and you paid the price. For that, I am deeply sorry. The apology was unexpected, and, I sensed, genuine. You're not responsible for his choices, Arthur, but I appreciate you saying that. The company, what's left of Ether, is being sold for parts," he continued, his gaze on the distant fog rolling over the Golden Gate. "The creditors will be made mostly whole. Thank God, the employees have been placed elsewhere. For the most part, the technology had some value. Stripped of the fraudulent metrics," he cleared his throat, "there will be a small surplus. After all obligations are met, a few million. The board has voted to disperse it to you, as the primary victim of his extracurricular financial activities." I stopped walking. "That's not necessary, Arthur. The divorce settlement was more than fair. It's not about necessity. It's about justice and optics. The last thing any of us wants is a headline suggesting the old boys club protected its own and left the wife and baby holding the bag. This is a clean end. Atonement, of a sort." He finally looked at me. "Take it. For Charlotte's future. A trust fund. Insulated from whatever may come. Consider it blood money from a venture that bled you dry in more ways than one." I thought of the hidden Swiss account, the drained joint funds, the second mortgage. This was a fraction of it returned, sanitized and legitimized. It wasn't about the money. It was about the gesture, the formal, financial ratification of my victimhood and their complicity. "All right," I said quietly. "Thank you." He nodded, seeming relieved. "The paperwork will come to Diana. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've taken enough of your afternoon." He gave a stiff, old-fashioned, half-bow toward Charlotte. "She's beautiful, Evelyn. A fresh start." He walked away, a lonely, upright figure shouldering the burden of his guild. I watched him go, then returned to the playground, to the noise and the life. 3 months later, the package arrived on a Tuesday, plain brown cardboard, no return address, postmarked from Reno, Nevada. It was sitting on the hall table when I came in from a walk with Charlotte, her cheeks pink from the autumn air. My heart gave a single, hard thump. I knew, with a cold, psychic certainty, what it was. I waited until Charlotte was down for her nap, nestled in her crib with a mobile of painted stars turning slowly above her. Then, with steady hands, I took the package to the kitchen island, fetched a pair of scissors, and sliced the tape. Nestled inside a nest of crumpled newsprint was a small, black velvet ring box. Not the Tiffany box, something cheaper, generic. and a single sheet of lined notebook paper, folded in quarters. I opened the box first. There it was, the diamond-encrusted band he'd given her. The promise. It looked smaller than I remembered. The diamonds cheap and cloudy under the kitchen lights. A tawdry thing. I snapped the box shut. Then, I unfolded the note. The handwriting was a woman's. Sloping and careful. Evelyn, I don't know if you want this. I don't know if you'll even open this package. But I'm sending it because I can't have it in my house anymore. Every time I looked at it, I saw the lie. I saw myself believing it. I saw everything I lost because I was stupid enough to believe a handsome liar. I took the money you gave me. I moved to Reno. I had the baby. A boy. I named him Leo. He's healthy. It's hard, doing it alone. But it's honest. I work at a physical therapy clinic. It's a job. It pays the rent on my small apartment. It's not the life he promised, but it's mine. I heard about Noah's sentence. 22 months. I guess that's something. I don't know what I feel about it. Mostly, I feel nothing. He's a ghost from a bad dream. I'm writing this not to make peace. I don't deserve your peace, and you don't owe me anything. I'm writing because I am sorry. Truly, deeply sorry. Not for loving him, but for my part in hurting you. For being so willing to believe that you were less than, so I could feel like more. It was cruel, and small, and wrong. I hope you and your daughter are well. I hope you are happy. You won. I hope it's a good life. Isabella. I read the letter twice. The anger I expected didn't come. The pity I'd once felt was gone. 2. There was just a faint, distant sadness. For the girl she was. For the woman she was trying to become. For the tangled mess of lives Noah had left in his wake. 2 sons. 2 daughters. All marked by his choices. I didn't keep the letter. I took it to the sink, held a corner to the flame of the gas stove, and watched it curl into black ash, which I washed down the drain. The past was dead. It had no place here. The ring box, however, I carried with me, not to keep, but for a different purpose. That weekend, I bundled Charlotte into her sturdiest carrier, packed a diaper bag, and called Chloe. Feel like a hike. I need to dispose of some toxic waste. 10 miles north of the city, where the headlands meet the Pacific. The land is wild and unforgiving. The wind whips off the ocean, scouring the cliffs clean. Chloe drove, chattering about a new algorithm she was obsessed with, while Charlotte snoozed in her car seat, lulled by the motion. We parked and hiked a well-worn trail out to a promontory that jutted over the crashing surf. The air was salt and cold. The sky vast, aching blue. Below us, the water frothed and churned against the rocks. A timeless, indifferent violence. Dramatic much. Chloe asked, panting slightly as we reached the edge. Could have just pawned it. This is better, I said, unzipping the front of the carrier so I could look down at Charlotte's sleeping face. She was swaddled against the wind, her long lashes fanning her cheeks. My heart, as it did 100 times a day, contracted with a love so fierce it was terrifying. I took the black ring box from my pocket. I opened it one last time. The cheap diamonds didn't even sparkle in the hard sunlight. Goodbye, Isabella, I whispered, not to the woman, but to the ghost of that chapter, to the symbol of the betrayal. Goodbye, Noah. I drew my arm back and threw the box, not with anger, but with a final, decisive release. It sailed out, a tiny black speck against the immense blue, turned end over end, and was swallowed by the white water and deep green depths. Gone forever. Chloe put an arm around my shoulders. Feel better. I looked from the empty space where the box had vanished to the warm, living weight of my daughter against my chest. I thought of the quiet penthouse that was now truly a home, of the trust fund being set up for Charlotte's education, of my mother's unwavering support, of the consulting work I was starting to take on again, on my own terms, with my own name. I thought of Noah, in a beige prison cell, beginning his sentence, of Isabella, in a small apartment in Reno, raising a son alone. Their lives were their own now, separate from mine. Footnotes in our story. I feel free, I said, and it was the complete truth. The wind caught Charlotte's fine hair, stirring it against her forehead. Her eyes fluttered open, huge and deep blue, the color of the ocean on a calm day. She looked up at me, blinked, and then gifted me with a gummy. Four-toothed smile that held the entire, uncomplicated joy of her existence. I smiled back, my eyes filling not with tears of grief, but with something else, a gratitude, so profound it felt like a new kind of gravity, holding me to this earth, to this moment, to her. Come on, my love, I said, adjusting her hat against the wind. Let's go home. We turned our backs on the churning sea and walked up the path, toward the car, toward the city, toward the future. The past was a closed door, a sunken ring, a scattered ash. The path ahead was mine to walk, ours to walk, and for the first time in a very, very long time, I wasn't just moving forward. I was walking toward something real, something true, something that was entirely, blessedly, my own.